Hey, guess where we are today? We are down here in one of the twin cities of Trempealeau County.
Absolutely. We have a special guest with us today who's becoming more and more familiar on WTCO.
Yep, and this is Jim Losinski, and he's kind of going to tell us about the twin cities here, which are
Dodge
and
Pine Creek.
Pine Creek. And where are we right now?
Right now we're standing in the parking lot where the church, which used to be the site of the old school and the Sisters Convent, the playground here, and a few other things in the little city of Pine Creek here.
So where the parking lot is, that was where those buildings were?
Yes, it was.
Oh, okay.
When we played ball here, we had one person had a guard between second and third over here, and everybody else had a guard between first and second because the rectory was there and the windows in the basement.
Didn't want to break those.
Had to be replaced ever so often. So it was a full team on one side and one guy out in field.
So this is a beautiful area. If you have never been down to Pine Creek and Dodge, I would suggest that you do it. I mean, I'm talking to my 94-year-old uncle who grew up by Galesville, and I said, have you ever been down to Dodge? And he said, oh, no.
Oh,
No.
scandal. Dodge.
Well, he said it had a reputation as being kind of a wild place, and I don't know if that was deserved or not.
Was it rough and tumble in the day?
Well, thank goodness I'm not that old to remember. But I can tell you, I said, we know quite a bit of information from the area here. I said Ron Gillespie and George Myers had written a book, the little city here of Pine Creek. Sacred Heart had 150th anniversary just a while back, and they wrote a book which got some excellent pictures in it.
Beautiful book.
They probably have some copies. If not, the Historical Society in Arcadia, I believe, has a copy or two of that book. And we'll maybe discuss who kind of lived in some of these homes in the earlier part of the settlement of Trempealeau County. And we're not going to have you bet the family farm that we're 100% right. But we'll do the best that we know to our knowledge who lived there and when. And from there, we'll maybe go to a trip up Main Street here, around the hill, and go visit Dodge.
Okay.
That sounds like a plan.
So tell us, kick us off here, what's behind us?
Well, this is the early cemetery. I says this marker was put up here when the cemetery was remodeled. It's been expanded a few times. I believe we have a picture in our archives here someplace of early Pine Creek. And at that time, you can see where the trees are standing. There was a fence. Above that was the original church.
Was that the top of the hill?
On top of the hill.
Okay.
And the first church burnt down. The second church was moved after this one was built. This one was built in 1875. The bids were put out in May. And it had to be done by December. Remember, there's no electricity. This is all hand tools.
Oh my goodness.
The bid was $10,650.
Wow.
With no basement. The basement was installed later. But we're not that far yet.
We're not that far yet.
We'll talk about that later.
What do you say? Should we load on up and hit the road?
Oh, and one more thing before we load up. Everybody just calm down. This is, now it's just called Sacred Heart, right?
Yes.
But originally it was St. Wenceslas and Sacred
Yes, it was.
Okay, and why was that?
Well, we're going to give away the whole show if we give away all the answers.
See, Nancy likes to do that. She likes to cut to the end.
Ask
right
questions
away.
that we don't know the answer.
Cut to the end.
When the Bohemian farmers came in here, it was St. Wenceslas.
Okay.
And then when it got changed after a while, we got more and more Polish people here.
Oh.
And it got to be a combination of the two.
Okay.
So I said that's how it ended up being converted to Sacred Heart. But you have to remember, this was not necessarily the first church here. When Martin Whistler came over Whistle Pass, 1855, then the settlers started moving in here. Then down John Banner, which would be on the Roy Hesley's farm now, he abandoned his claim. He didn't make a go of it or move farther, whatever it was. And then Mike Chisholm moved in there, and on his farm in 1862, there already was a church. And on old maps, it'll show us that there's a church there, and it's located there. It shows the Brzezinski schoolhouse. It shows this church. It shows the public schoolhouse that was there. The parochial wasn't built in 1890, but we're not that far yet.
Okay, well, why don't we get loaded up then?
Yeah, I have something I have to show you today. We'll go there next.
Okay.
Well, I thought this might be a nice place to start a little video here on Pine Creek. I said this land here is about 2 going on 3 years now into a pollinator project, I guess you would call it. And this is the first year I said that's really starting to come on its own. So I suspect it's just going to get better. I said there's a lot of management involved in this, and I think more paperwork probably than anything else. Maybe Mary knows more about this than we do, but
It's beautiful.
but I said I think they've done a wonderful job here. I said helping. I said you know, our pollinators are having a lot of problems here. I said with the weed spray and the different cultivation practices that we do of monoculture agriculture, the habitat is being lost. So to preserve little patches here and there, I said the monarchs and the bees and stuff will all still have a little chance. And turning out halfway decent here, I said, for being just the first or second year that it's really coming into bloom. So I think it's going to be really a nice project here down the line.
Well, they say it takes 3 years. The first year it sleeps, the second year it creeps, and the third year it leaps.
Now we'll have to come back next year just to see what it does.
Yes.
That'll be the
Look at
whole
this.
thing, I said.
mean,
But it really
beautiful.
turns out nice. But I thought this would be a good place to start here with our program. Talking about some of the early settlers that came here into the valley and around Pine Creek and Dodge.
So where are we right now?
Oh, we're only about half a mile, maybe 3/4 of a mile out of Pine Creek itself.
Okay.
But Pine Creek being only a quarter mile long, I mean, you got to be quick either way. But yeah, we're just a little ways northeast, I guess, of Pine
Okay.
Creek, the first
Okay.
left going into Pine Creek on G.
So the first settlers here were like English or
Yes,
American type, yeah.
they're the first settlers to come in here. They figured John Smoglik probably brought in some of the first settlers into the Pine Creek area. John brought in 3 Pauls. There was Paul Rudnick, Paul Lessman, and what was the third Paul?
Was that Libera?
Yeah, Paul Libra.
Libra.
Libra,
Okay.
Libera, I'm not sure which way you're going to pronounce it,
However.
but there were 3 Pauls. There was Felix Komreski came in here, and then Joe and his brother, they were Zabinskis, they came in here. But they were here by 1863. Whistler Pass, like we said, 1855, when Martin Whistler settled in there. But by 63 they were here because that's when Martin Brum moved into this area. And once the Brums got here, the Brums owned many farms. They had big families, and they seemed to kind of flourish in the area, let's put
Yeah.
it that way.
And but they weren't Polish, were they?
They were Bohemian.
And that's, today we would say they were Czech.
They would be Czech, but
Yeah,
they were referred to
right.
as Bohemian. So it's
Okay.
kind of an intermixture, you know, with the wagons and the buggies and whatever else we had. People didn't travel far to get married.
No.
So, and then you got to remember, no Social Security. So if someone passed away and they're fairly young, that family got remarried fairly soon because there were children to take care of and
Sure.
somebody to help take care of me as I get older.
Yeah.
So I said, but when the Czechoslovakian people, the Bohemians, they had to be a little bit more numerous at first because Pine Creek Church was St. Wenceslaus.
Yeah.
But after a while, when the Polish kind of got more predominant, then it got changed over to Sacred Heart. Just like the little Tamarack Church, when I was down there, I was talking to the ministry, and they said they were originally going to build next to the cemetery down in Tamarack, but they said there's so many Polish people moved in, they moved up in the Norway Valley because they said there's more Polish people. But I think what we should do, maybe sneak down the road here and let's go into Pine Creek, and I'll tell you a few things about a few of the homes that we go through Pine Creek as we meander over the Dodge. Don't, like I said, bet the farm on it because we could be not 100% right on a lot of
We
this.
might get a date wrong by a year or two.
Yeah, we could get the whole person wrong. So let's just try to do as good as we can. We'll do the
Okay.
best we can with the knowledge we have. I said, I'm a director at the museum in Arcadia, and I said, we can look this information up. We've got 4 or 5 different books. An excellent one here from Pine Creek, a couple here from
Yeah.
Dodge. The Piercy book from 1917 has got a little history about the area. So if people want to look this up, I said, you can find this information, stop at the museum, look
Right.
it up online. A few of them books are around, so let us
Okay.
get on the road
All
and
right.
get rolling.
All right, we're going to put some gravel in our travel here. Now, don't you fall in the ditch either. I'm not good at hauling people out. It has happened.
As long as you don't leave us behind, that's the important thing.
Okay, we're going to go back to the church, Jim.
We'll stop right at the stop sign there at the end of this road. And I just got a couple of comments there. I guess I can make them as we're going there.
At the
We-
stop sign. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, go ahead.
Because I said
You can start, Jim. if you want.
the farm on the right, as we get to the top side, the farther farm is the old Winook farm as when we were kids. And then Dad had to be Winooks in there too, because when Libra owned the other farm, he donated the land for the church. And Winook always thought it was too big of a burden for one farmer to give up that much land to have the community to have a church. So he gave some land from his farm to the other farm so that he wouldn't have to have the burden all by himself. So the brick house on the right here was a Winook farm. As a kid, Mrs. Winook used to teach school in Centerville.
So that was the old
Yeah, it was Winook farm, yes.
Okay.
And this farm here, the Queoc farm now, this was the Libra farm.
This was right here where they
Yes,
have the
and this
sawmill
farm is the
thing.
one that donated the land for the church.
Okay. Okay.
On our left side, this used to be Martin Brum's farm. This was bought from Martin years and years ago. They used to grow sugar beets, and this farm had quite a few sugar beets growing, I said, until after World War I, when they quit buying the beets because the price of sugar and the demand was taken down. Now, the Libra farm, I said, this land was all donated here. We built this school here in 1960, the parish did. It was closed in 76. The old school, which was down on the parking lot where we were earlier this morning, was built 1890s. And then it was added on to a few times over the years.
So when they took down the convent and the school and what do you call where the priest lives, the rectory?
The rectory, yes.
Okay, when they took them all down, were they in bad shape or why did they do that?
Well, the age was getting to them, yeah, and kind of were outgrowing it. The school itself was a two-story school. 4 grades down, 4 grades up, you know, and we maybe had 9 to 16 children probably in each grade, you know, but we upgraded to a newer facility. I says the heating structure that was across the road here on the left here was Martin Brum, who owned the farm, built both of these houses. And a little greenhouse here, Stosh used to live in there, Stosh Gavatsky, and he would come and fire the church, fire the furnace behind the school, which was steam heated, ran all these things.
So what is it? What's a pilgrimage church? Do you know?
I don't know if maybe it was printed in that glass when they bought the window. I'm not sure what they mean by that, but like I said, the parish itself is probably the oldest Catholic parish here in the state. The cemetery is the oldest.
I have seen it claimed that this was the second oldest Polish Catholic church in the United States. That the only one that was earlier was one in Texas. So,
it could be possible. Like I said, you know, the early records on all this stuff, no matter which town you go to, they're so sparse. No one kept written records, you know. So it says the history's all been lost.
But if you look up there, there is a sign in Polish. Do you remember that, Mary? Up on the church, up near the top, there's a plate. All right, and I expected with your Polish ancestry that you were going to be able to, you know, translate that, but you didn't.
Me?
Yes.
Absolutely not. I know a few words that you shouldn't say on tape. I know a few words that you shouldn't say on tape.
Okay.
Nancy.
All right. That's it. That's the extent of your
videotape.
Polish.
You're bugging me now.
Okay.
Well,
This is very interesting, Jim.
in this book, it tells you what that says up on this church. Way in the top, it says AMDG.
Yeah,
there's a plate. It says to the greater glory of God.
Okay.
Is what that is here. The pilgrimage part is maybe because of the age of the church.
All right.
I don't know. I know they just finally got the honeybees out of it here. I don't see any. There was honeybees here for probably 50 years in the right corner up here.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, there had to be bees in here like you wouldn't believe.
Oh, my goodness.
And we were kids, I said, we still had honeybees here. But there was no basement underneath this church when it was originally built.
Did they jack it up and
before my time.
Yeah.
All I know is that they dug it out and the basement was installed later.
Okay, so
it was built in less than 6 months, I know that, with no power tools, no electric.
So
And
how?
these old churches
Yeah.
last forever if they're cared for once in a while,
But that's
don't
the
they?
big. How is the congregation? Is it strong? Do they have enough people to help? You know.
Oh, yeah, they're okay. I said they're moving along. I said that you always can use more membership, no matter which parish it is.
Yeah.
I said, but I said people support the church and it keeps rolling. I said there's a lot of history buried on the hill. You know, there's 4 or 5 generations are up
Sure.
here already behind this church. So a lot of the younger families are still here.
So I want you to tell me about the Polish that lived in Pine Creek and Dodge, because they were not from the same part of Poland as the folks up in Independence.
You've got that right, but I don't know any more Polish than Mary does, I says.
Yeah, but they were called Kashubians.
Yes, and we're going to have a program on that in Arcadia on, what, 7th of next month?
And
Joe Hughes will be doing a
Yeah.
program, but yeah, I said the early program, all the difference is they came from the northern part or the southern part of the country.
I looked it up, and it said that Kashubians were up by Gdansk, which is like, up
Yeah,
in the
okay.
northern part, but they were controlled by Germany or Prussia at that time, and they kind of had the same problem that the Irish did, is that the Germans, the Prussians, didn't want these people to speak their native language, and that they were actually fined if they were caught speaking, you know, Polish, or if the kids spoke it in school, they could be punished.
Well, the northern Poles and the southern Poles, those folks can't get along, can they, Jim?
Well, I don't know, but
I
behind
think the
us,
Poles-
we
I
just
think
went.
the Poles all got along because everybody was kind of against us.
Behind us, we just went past that grotto, which was
let me
where the
back
old
up.
rectory used to stand. Pine Creek lost 3 or 4 rectories through fire, and I
Gee
said when the last rectory was taken down, 1970, 71, something like this, they built this grotto over here to kind of represent where it used
Where's
to
the
be.
grotto?
Where all the flowers were here behind the
Oh,
parking
all right.
lot.
Well, it's-
We were there this morning, but that's all right.
yeah, we'll just cruise
Mary,
by
I
there.
think, took some film earlier of that grotto.
But that's the grotto, okay. And, over there, I see, all right. Well, what do I know? I'm a Protestant.
Well, there we
Wow.
go. Now we're talking religion.
What? This might be, these could be Norwegian flowers. I don't know.
Oh,
So
my
I
goodness.
put in a
Boy.
Polish community, so I mean, they're tolerant here.
Oh, that's beautiful, though. Who takes care of all this?
Local
do you
ladies
know?
here from the Rotary Society and the
Oh.
neighbors, they all come over and they water and kind of take care of them.
That
So
is just gorgeous.
Can I rent them? Hey, do you think they come out to my house?
if they come and weed mine first, we'd be out to get them.
talk to them about this.
And what's the deal on the bell here? Do you know?
It's probably from the original church.
I don't remember.
Huh.
I'll tell you
Ooh,
right
we got
off,
a
honestly.
stumper.
Oh, we
Yeah.
stumped him.
There's probably information there where that bell came from.
Now, did you grow up in Pine Creek? Were you living in here?
I only went to school here.
Oh, okay.
We used to bicycle to school all the time here, about 4 or 5 miles.
Wow. Did you have to come down the big hill?
Oh, well, we had to go back up it too.
Oh boy. Going down was the easy part, wasn't it?
There's only one lady I know in Dodge here. She told me that it was uphill the school both ways,
Yeah.
and she had to go over Dodge Hill, so she could do it.
Yeah, definitely.
On the left here, this was Martin Brum's place.
The house right here.
No,
No?
the empty lot. This house is built out of the old dance hall. We've got some pictures of dance hall. We'd stop here. The dance hall stood out front. This got taken down. Some of the brick from the dance hall has been used to build that garage in the background here at the Lintz's Inn.
Back here.
No, on the left side behind this blue pickup back in there. The block in there was used from the old
Oh,
dance hall that
right
stood
in
here.
there.
I know Nancy's got a picture here partially
Yeah, I
of the
do.
dance hall.
Yeah.
And the taverns here were both built by Stencils. The house we just went past was a Stencil house. Emma Stencil lived there. I'm not sure who lived there earlier than that because I'm not quite that old. But I said, but Stencils owned kind of like this end of the town, and that they sold off little land here and there to kind of help make ends meet. Things have kept on evolving. But now this is Harry's place here on the right. This,
Okay.
at one time, this place they sold gas. It had a grocery store in it. You
Okay.
even brought your bounty in here for rattlesnakes. It came over here to when Ed was still running the place over
There
here.
wasn't snakes down here, was
Well,
there?
you betcha there were rattlesnakes down here.
Oh my goodness.
What is it? What's the deal on those big antlers? Are
Those
they?
are elk horns.
They're elk horns, yeah. Probably shot out back here a couple of weeks ago. I mean,
I heard that. I heard there's elk running around down here.
But I said the old dance hall we went by, they used
Yeah.
to play basketball in there. It was used as an ice house, and it also sold coffins upstairs.
Coffin?
Well, anything to make a buck, you know. I mean,
Well, we have to go on the ground every once in a while.
Lintz's Tavern here on the left, that's the oldest family-owned tavern in Trempealeau County.
Wow.
As long as it's been in business, Margaret's been there and her family's been in it. The garage in front of us here, where Bob is mowing grass here now, was built by Stencils, and Bob's dad was a Korean War vet, or a World War II veteran, and he bought this thing and he made a little auto shop out of it. He did a lot of welding and repair work. So I said he did a real thriving business, and when Florian passed away, I said no, Bob inherited from his dad. I said, but
And is this his house here?
yes, this is Bob's house. They
Okay.
really kept it up well.
And
This was the Kupiat's place here.
On the left?
Yes, and he was a World War II veteran, and who owned it before, I don't know.
But now there had been a public school in
Oh yes,
in Pine Creek, and that was up here on
we'll
the
be
left.
getting there directly. The farm
Okay.
on our left here on top of the silo is the internet for all of Pine Creek. Kenny's got the internet set up here so that people can get reception down here. I said, we've got gravity for a couple weeks, but we haven't had a real good internet service.
Well, you can't have everything.
You can't live in heaven and expect to have it all.
There you go. Up ahead here, just across this little bridge there is a old Losinski place. I said Danny Storoff owned it, and I said he called it Storyville when he was running, living here. And it's the oldest home. This brick home is the oldest home
Yeah.
here in Pine Creek from the original settlers.
It looks old. Mary and I had
beautiful.
noticed it before.
Well, I had to do a little remodeling and upkeep. You gotta, if you don't
yeah.
maintain stuff, you know how quickly it goes to the dogs.
Yeah, but I like brick houses. I'm a brick house I'm a fanatic of brick houses.
Well, there's always been a little bit, few more additions and stuff. Across the road there is a Brown farm, but it used to be a Brzezinski at one time had owned that one, but
The one ahead of us.
yes, but I
Okay.
said after a while, once kind of the Brums had moved in here, the Bohemian people, I said they kind of took over the area. I said, and this cornfield on our left,
Okay.
there was the schoolhouse, the public
Okay.
schoolhouse stood here, and it was built, I believe, in the I have to look something up here. I just don't recollect right off the top of my head.
Gee.
1870s it was built, and it ran until about 34.
And I remember looking up, oh, look at the old tractor. That's like my
Go
grandpa
left.
You
had.
got it.
Go left.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the tractor, Jim. I like the old
it
tractor.
needs a little bit help there. I said, it
Well, I
ain't going
know.
to pop right
Some
off.
flat tires.
It's not going to pop right off if we hit the starter, I'm afraid. But yes,
So-
it's nice lawn decorations there.
It is.
Beautiful
I had-
conservation strips. I got thrown in
Yay,
there.
yay farmers, yay. We love that.
What a
Mary and I get
beautiful
all
neighbor.
excited when we see
Save the
contour
soil.
strips.
That's right.
I had looked up the deed for the Pine Creek Public School, and it was donated by a man whose name, I don't know how to pronounce it. It was R-E-Z-A-B.
It's resident.
Resident.
Yeah, resident.
Resident.
Well, what really got me was on the deed, both he and his wife signed it, but she spelled the last name different than he did. He spelled it with a Z and she spelled it with an S, so I thought, well, maybe they didn't agree on everything.
I think that name will come up again, too.
Yeah,
There's a little scandal in Pine Creek.
yeah,
Well, maybe there's just a spelling difference, that's all.
yeah.
As we're,
You look at the gravestones on the hill, I mean, you know, Z's are S's and Y's are I's and A's are I's, and, you know, it depends on what it sounds like, and the county records are the same, you know, when you look it up here.
So we're going to be coming down here by Jurassic's Dairy, and
Yeah.
they have had the dairy breakfast, I think, twice.
Yes, Kenny's been quite prosperous here. I said he and the family have ran the dairy breakfast. This was a Dressick farm here also.
On the left?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And now it's a Bisick has got it, and he had deer in here at one time. Then he had some pheasants in here and partridge. I said, he had quite that thing here.
And these are all Jurassics here?
No, I'm not positive on every
Okay.
name here, so let's not
Yeah,
go
no,
there.
I just wonder if they were Jurassics, that's all.
If I pronounce one wrong, then I get hollered at.
That's right.
Kupiat's over here does all the cleaning services and whatever else. that's not in my notes here, so I didn't do the research on all this stuff, you know.
But now coming up here on the right,
No, yes,
that's
this is Jurassic Farm, and
Yeah.
it's been in the family over 150 years, I believe, here now. The dairy breakfast.
Yes, I've been down here twice. It's a big operation.
And as you drop down the other side of the hill from the farm here, there's an erosion dam built on the right side. I bet you that was done by the CCCs.
Ah, okay. Well, that's going to last then.
Well, it seems to be holding up. If it didn't wash out by now, it probably is going to take it. Most of the work that the CCs did
Another
does
brick
hold.
house. Look at a beautiful brick house.
Yeah.
He's just doing some remodeling in it right now, I said, but they're bringing it up to livable standards again, I said. You got to, if you don't maintain it, you know, it starts falling apart.
Yeah.
So,
But like I said, this here draw here, there's a dam built right here on the right. See, this, I bet you, is a CC job.
Oh yeah.
Just holding this together. And on top of the hill here, immediately on the left, this is where the first windmill built by Herman Schultz was put on a pine tree. We've got a
yes,
picture of that
I've got
someplace
that
in the
picture,
files.
You bet. Yeah.
Some people think it was on the other Klein farm, but Grandpa Klein, great-grandpa, lived on this one.
So it's this place up here.
No,
gotta
on
pull
our
over.
left.
Oh, on the left. I
It was
gotta
on
pull
this
over because
little-
there's someone behind me and they might pull out their shotgun if I don't let them by. Okay.
If we find a culvert, we'll be pushing now.
Have a little faith in me. Here, it's on this side was where the first
That's where the windmill
was.
stood on the pine tree, was on that.
Okay, and it was up on a pine tree. Huh.
And that tree, I think, lasted like 15, 20 years or something like that. The top cut off and then put the windmill up there.
Wow. That's kind of interesting.
And then these homes were all built, you know, in our lifetime. Melvin Wicca here worked for Goodyear, and David Hines, he passed away here. And there's a young Moga here. This was a Klein farm here. He owned the farm right ahead. Under the road here, I believe the CC work also, because this erosion thing on our right is only 20, 30 feet deep, and on our left, it's 40, 50 feet deep.
Wow.
This, and there are blueprints in the records from John Klein's farm for CC work, and I bet you that's a dam right there built by the CCs.
Wow.
Those seem to last forever, don't they?
Well, there was a lot of smarts involved, and the labor was the right price, I guess. So
Absolutely.
So whose farm is this?
right now, this Bushman's owned this. It used to be Stanley Losinski's farm, Lawrence Losinski, and before that was Brzezinski farm.
And there was a Brzezinski school, and that was down here.
Yes, and that Brzezinski school was around the next corner down there, but we're not going that far. But that one closed in 1941.
So tell us about the first church that was kind of, whose farm was that on?
Mike Chisholm's farm. But it said being Mike came in 1862, that church had to be built there before 1862.
And was it a Catholic church or just
I think it was just general denomination when a
Yeah.
minister would come by, because see, there was no church in Dodge. Dodge never had a church.
Yeah.
And if the Pine Creek Church, 1850s, we don't know when the first one was built on the hill. I haven't found any records to say they constructed something on the hill which burned down.
Hey,
You know.
maybe that's why Dodge was so wild, because they didn't have a church
I
to
was
keep
There-
them
gonna say,
saying.
yes,
there you go.
Right, that explains everything, doesn't it?
Right at this corner here, there's a picture was taken at one time. I think I've sent Nancy a copy of it. The CCs were in this cornfield down here.
In the cornfield.
Yes, and that
Oh,
picture was
okay.
taken from around that corner over this hill, and you can see
Oh,
that
there is a sign
Brzezinski
up.
barn in the background.
And there is a sign up there marking it, isn't there?
And see, that's not, that sign is tipping over, and the doggone work they did is still standing. So that saves a lot for our DNR work now, right, Mary?
Yeah, here we go.
Oh, there's people behind us. They're going to
That's
get
all
out.
right.
You can slow down.
On our left here, my mother used to say when they were kids that they'd lay on the bank and they could watch the Native Americans gathering
What?
material for making baskets.
Oh, sure.
Ma was born in 1918, but she said there were still Indians would come around, and we've heard of the fun makers. They're still a pretty prominent family here in the area.
And now those were Ho-Chunks.
Yes.
And there was quite a large presence of Ho-Chunks, I believe, in Dodge before the white settlers came in.
Yes, and they went to even the white man school, let's put it that way. They were educated here, I says, just like everybody else, and slowly they've assimilated, I guess, into our culture, or the best they could.
Okay.
And these homes here are all built a little later. This is Paulie Wagner lives in this one over here. On the right up here, I said this home just been built in the last year. I'm not positive who these people are, but you know, everything changes at least once in your lifetime. Everything comes up for sale.
That's true.
Because those people die, that generation is gone.
Yeah.
And this is part of that we don't know, and I'm not afraid to tell you, I don't know.
That's
Old-
the old
At one time
highway?
it was a
That's the old
farm,
road
'cause they
down
got
there to Dodge. It used to go down the left, around the corner, come back up.
Part of an old greenery.
That was moved here. This was a field here this spring,
okay.
or last fall, I guess.
It's amazing how quickly folks take things from the past and bring them to the future. They have a nice little place to sit underneath
And-
when it's raining.
And this here, right here, this driveway on the right, this used to be Jake Tullius. He was a blacksmith.
Oh.
He was one of the blacksmiths that we had in Dodge. There was a number of them. And this was a Lilla house down over here.
Lilla, right here,
Yeah,
on the right?
now it's Teskey, which is relation.
A Lilla? Huh. Lilla.
They used to run the Dewdrop Inn in Pine Creek, or in Dodge.
Not a lily.
Lilla.
Lilla.
Lilla. Well, see, Nancy, we've been looking for lavender lily for
Maybe-
years.
No, that, yeah,
Maybe
but
she's
that-
actually Lavender Lilla.
Well, you never know. You never know. Maybe we're looking in the wrong spot.
And the Sportsman's Club down here used to have a couple Indian mounds years back. I said, according to Ron Gillespie, and I'm not sure where they were. I says,
Are they still there?
no.
Oh. Do you want me to just keep going
No,
straight?
you're doing a great job. As
All right.
long as I don't have to drive, we're in business.
Well,
Now here's this
Beautiful.
nice marsh here, this wet area. And I have tried before to get Mary to get out and get some really close pictures of it.
She wants to drive away, Jim.
Oh, I just,
She wants to throw me in the ditch and drive away.
I wanted you to get some, you're a good photographer, I wanted you to get pictures of the marsh. Is that asking too much?
Wow.
Well, you're in luck. The marsh comes right to the road. She doesn't have to get off.
Then you gotta get the 110 in my hip waders.
What's wrong with your bare feet?
Because then I get slimy things on my toes that make me scream, and then people laugh at me.
Them leechy things.
Yes.
Been there, done that, seen that trick.
Nancy and I were walking in the woods once, and I had something slimy go across the top
Oh,
of my foot.
yeah.
That was, I'm not that tough, Jim.
Now, up here on the right, they always call this place the banker's house. And you know who it was built by?
A banker.
Joe Reza.
Oh, okay.
Okay, on the left here,
Okay.
this used to be Harry Herrick's garage. He was a case implement dealer.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah, you can see it.
Yeah, and now it's owned by Kenny Fromm, and Kenny runs a transmission repair shop over by Centerville.
So this was Herrick's garage.
Yeah, this was
Okay.
Joe Herrick's
On the left.
Harry Herrick's garage.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And now here on the right again is Joe Tullius's home. He was the last blacksmith in Dodge. The little red shed there was his
Oh, this
thing.
was the old blacksmith
I can't
shop?
talk as fast as you drive, I tell you.
Well, I can slow down.
She does have a heavy foot, Jim.
Oh, she keeps hanging on there. I'm just jumping in the back seat here trying to keep up with this lady.
Hang on, you got G-forces.
And this was
They're
the
using
old,
this more for storage than anything, but
Okay.
it's the last blacksmith shop that was left here in Dodge.
Okay.
On the other side of the road here, we already went past, but irrelevant. Here on the
We
right,
can turn around and
I
Oh,
can turn around.
yeah. Let's do right side of the road, and then we'll turn around.
Okay,
and
we'll
come
come
back.
back.
And do left.
Okay.
here on the right where all this stuff is stored, there used to be the Dodge scale. They used to weigh cattle and weigh grain over here.
Oh, I bet.
There was the stockyards also stood here for the train because there was a double track at one time. They also had fuel storage tanks that stood here when they started out hauling fuel out of Dodge. And then,
Dodge Oil.
well, it wasn't called Dodge Oil at the
No?
time. It was called something else. It's Farmer something here.
And now, Jim, across the
post
railroad
office.
tracks.
Well, we'll
here.
get that when we get on that street because we
Here's the-
won't keep up.
Here's the
Watch-
post
watch
office.
their-
This is where it is now, yes.
Hello.
This is where it is now. The white building over on our left,
Okay.
probably the oldest building in Dodge. These here white buildings on our right up here with the railroad side do belong to the railroad. And
Oh.
they were for the grain.
Oh,
When the train
storage?
came through, there was a double track. The
Yep.
grain would come through. The ticket house was behind the ticket station, and the outhouses were behind there.
So this was the depots.
This wasn't the depot. This
Oh,
was for
wasn't.
grain storage. You
Okay.
could bring your grain in here and they'd unload, and then when a train come, they would move out of these grain sheds. Now they're used just for storage for the implement here. Wagner's own it or
Okay.
use them now.
Okay.
The building on our left is the old Hesley implement shop.
Now, you want me to go?
Wherever you're driving, you're going down the street. I just got to keep looking where I am.
Now, I think, wasn't this gray building a tavern?
It was,
Okay, that was an old tavern.
but it was more than a tavern too.
Oh, all right.
Let me see. I got to.
Did it have
You got-
space for ladies of the evening?
Mary,
Well, usually those were associated.
this
Were
is
they?
a.
Well, let's see. That was Mike Coulis's store. He bought that.
Oh,
See,
back
now
there.
she drives faster than I can preach back here.
I'm going 5 miles an hour.
Let's stop.
Jeez.
Anyhow, there used to be an artesian well out front. Then, after a while, Andrew Dressick bought it, and it was called Jersky's store. And there was a meat market in there. Later on, Warren
in
Waters
here.
took over.
Yeah.
They used to call it Duke's Bar.
And this one here, on our left.
This is Mike Coulis's place.
Is this the place that was the store, or was that back behind us?
Both. This building here, that we're zooming by here, you got to stop on this corner.
She's turning around so I can get a better picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, stop at this corner. Because even in his woods was stuff before.
Okay. Now, this had several things in it, didn't it?
Yes. This building here at one time, I says, had the post office in it. It had the bank in it. Let's see what else there was in there. There used to be,
Well, weren't there apartments too?
yes, the doctor. There was a doctor upstairs.
That's
there was a
right.
dentist. Over here used to be a hitching rail for the horses when the people used to come to Dodge. They'd stop out front. Then after a while that was torn down. The post office was standing here. It was rebuilt because it was across the street back there. Got moved over here, got moved back over there. Up here where this little brown shed is over here on the right, there used to be a barber shop. You used to walk across planks to
Right
get to
here?
No, back.
in the back street there.
Oh.
We'll
I
maybe
wanna
come
find
down that
out.
street when we go past the Schlag
I want to
stagecoach.
find out about this building right here because you
This
talked
was
about it
this blue one
when
here.
I was on the wrong side.
This blue one that we just went by is James Siebert's used to live here. It's been all remodeled. He was the last Civil War veteran we had
Oh.
here in Dodge. But that was James' place.
This is the one that Mary's wondering
And this
about.
was the Warren Waters bar here. Like I said, this was Coulis's store. There used to be an artesian well out here. And then when Jersky bought the thing, it ran until Frank Tushner closed his meat market, which was across the street up at the corner over here. So then it was the third meat market opened up in Dodge. And like I said, I went to school with the Waters boys. I said when they were younger, I said, I wasn't any younger, but they were younger.
Now this is, if we stayed on this, there's that road that goes over to Pine Creek,
Dodge
right?
Hill, yes.
Yep.
People used to have to take that to get to church. Now this empty lot right behind this tree on our left,
Right
which
here.
Mary can't film, of course. This is where the barber
all right.
shop was. The rest of this was empty. There was nothing here years ago. Now it's the fire department, a few pieces like that.
Oh, okay, and that's the town hall up there.
The fire station, yeah, and the old school. The school used to stand up here where this guy is mowing grass. That's the old schoolhouse now. Now it's used
Yeah.
for public meetings and such.
Okay. And do we have an approximate date of when Dodge really started as a village?
Well, the train came 1873, December of 73. It cost 2 cents a mile to ride the train. So Hesley built his hotel down there, 1874. The oldest store in town there, probably around 1873, 1874. But this used to be the schoolhouse. This is the last schoolhouse. There was an earlier schoolhouse which got moved down and is used as a home now down on the other end of Dodge. There was
Now, can I keep going here? Or
yeah, you can go around the block. The worst
Okay.
you can do is get lost. We can stop and ask directions here, right?
But people don't do that anymore. They just look at their phones.
No, we went past, it was a Losinski house. Karasukla owns some land back in here. And here we have Dave Losinski owns a farm or a home back in here. Like I said, a lot of new people moved in. I said that we're never part of the original settlers, but I said that time moves on. That's the way life is.
Yeah.
That's how cities go, villages go.
What is
Come
this
to the
little
main
thing?
street.
I'm not sure what this shed was. You'd have to stop here and ask Jim's and Fire. This is Jim's place
Okay.
on the right here. I said,
So do you want me to go to the right and then come back?
Let's go right and then we'll
Okay.
go back left.
yeah, because here on the right, I said, there's just Jim's place here, and his son owns this now. Jim's mowing grass here right now.
Everybody's mowing grass here. Okay. Well, let's just point here. That we think that this is where the stagecoach line used to go down
Oh,
here
we know it came down this
and
street.
cross the river, right?
It came up Jefferson Street and went right down the street we just were on.
Because Dodge was a pretty important stagecoach.
It was the main hub. It had
Yep.
everything you needed.
Yep.
It had stores, it had the train, it had the way out for the grain and for the beef.
Did it start off as more of just a stopping post or because it was a good spot in the middle?
It's a good question. I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I think there was no club, there was no Highway 93. So on the,
on the right, who's
Yeah.
big? Who's big?
this was a Herman, the guy that put the windmill up,
Oh, okay.
Herman Schultz. This was his home.
It's a big house. Wow.
Really?
Well, I suppose he had a couple bucks. What to say, 1898 above
Yeah.
that window?
Yep. And there's his,
Oh, I
his
see that
name up
top
there.
stairs, H.R. Schultz. See that?
Absolutely.
Upstairs window. So I have a pretty good guess what it was.
That's a pretty big house.
In the back, I said that's the Long Branch. I said that
Uh-huh.
had burned down and has been rebuilt, but that used to be the location of Herman's tool shed. Or
I've been in that bar.
I never was in a bar, so I was.
What were you doing in a
Well,
bar?
it was during that big Dodge trail ride, and everybody went down there one
Oh,
night, and they were
sure.
partying. And
Did you stay all night?
well, not at the bar.
Oh, now we find out
I
the
had a
truth.
tent.
This is Marcy Fromm's place. This is
Beautiful
Marcy and-
barn,
and-
well taken care of.
Well, that barn and everything to the end now belongs now to Mike Hessley. There's a building in this here brush, believe it or not.
I see
Oh.
it. Was it like an old granary?
This was
Covered up in
Joe
brick
Slobby,
ones.
the tailor's
There's a
place.
building and all those vines.
Yes.
Yep.
Joe Slobby was a tailor, and he got tired of living after a while and kind of ended things for himself.
Oh,
but
Go
anyhow,
look
I
at, go
said,
get a picture of it, Mary. I promise I won't drive off.
She's gonna drive off.
I will not.
Jim, you
if she does, I'll jump out, and then we'll at least be able to thumb a ride together. But Joe over here, they say he could take a bolt of cloth and make you a whole suit just with 1 or 2 measurements.
Oh my gosh.
And he was a real good tailor, but people kind of picked on him a little bit and this and that, and whatever happens. He's buried in Pine Creek Cemetery.
And let's
And these
see.
buildings here now all belong to Hessley. When he set up here to make the hotel, this white building in front of us here,
Uh-huh.
he put the hotel in because when they were still having the stagecoach, outside of the stage livery down there belonged to the Schlag people. Outside of that, here they could come and they could get a little bit of breakfast and stay overnight, and a traveling salesman and whatever else. And then they'd catch the train next morning or else catch the coach to get out of here. But once the automobile started coming, the demand for the hotel kind of fell to the wayside. And then it was used as a home. Mike Hessley, I think, was the last one to live in here. And now Mike built a new home a little ways out of Dodge here.
Does anybody live in this White House now?
No.
No. Okay. But it looks like it had a storefront on it at one time, right?
Well, I think there was an ice shack onto the thing, and it had, like I said, you had beer and food you could get in the place, you know. So it probably, I says, like a hotel kind of
So
setting, you know.
Was that like an old spring house back
I
there?
suspect, you know, it
Yeah.
probably has all the furnishings for the farm at the time.
Yeah.
Because this upper end of town was like Hesley's. Everything to our left side of the house, back by the schoolhouse and back in there, was kind of Rapinski's and Bagnetski's. And over on the south end of town was Tullius, kind of where like the first big property owners. We've got a bee in here someplace, I'm not sure where it is, but as long as it's in the front by you girls, it doesn't bother me at all.
Don't hear me screaming. You'll know I got bit.
Now, this was the old...
This is Hesley, yeah, this is the old hotel built 1874, this white building. Like the bridge here now in Dodge, I heard rumor they're going to be rebuilding the bridge again. They've been talking about it for the last couple of years.
Because it floods, doesn't it? Terrible.
There's been 4 bridges already built in Dodge. The first one was the Curse of the Spray, you know what happened there.
Yeah.
So he come and he smashed them all. And then the second bridge stood till 1922, and the third one was 1955, up to this here one here. Now they're talking another bridge is going to be made. I says, they were talking this year, but you know the state is, sometimes they're on the ball and sometimes they're not.
My goodness.
Now in front of us here, this white building is part of the Hesley Implement Shop. The first one burned down and the sparks went across and took down the ticket house too for the train. But it was built in 1908, the first one. Then Andrew gave the place to his son George. And George, he used to sell BT and farmer's oil. That was over there by the blacksmith shop. And now I says he sold the oil thing out to Hardy Tullius, who then sold it to Searle Peelers, and they run now Dodge Fuel and oil out of the upper end of Dodge.
Is there any business in this big...
No more. Kevin Wagner was repairing tractors in here. Tim Hesley was part owner of it, or owned it at one time too, and it hasn't been used for repair work for a number of years already. In front of us here in Dodge was the old scale where that black pickup was. The other building in front of there, that was the stockyards now. I said that was built around 1910. Used to belong to Patch Hesley.
Should we go down past here? Look at all
Why
the...
don't you turn around? So till the
Yeah, all that's the couple buildings are gone. The old white building down on the right. I'll go on through. Those motorcycle guys can't get too mad at you. The worst they can do is holler.
They're walking like they own the road.
Well, they must be in some kind of a club. They've all got the same T-shirts
As long
on.
as they aren't carrying clubs, that's all I care. the white, this little bitty brick building here in between was the bank.
That was the bank?
The brick one, yes. It got moved from across the street. It was over by Mike's, across the street, and then Hesley built over here for the bank to come here.
Wow.
This building here, the yellow one here, was Services Store last, but it used to be the Joe Rezap Saloon, built around 1918.
And then what is this last one here?
This is the oldest building probably in Dodge.
Oh,
This was the original store built by a guy out of Trempealeau. It's kind of like Leonbrock, but I don't think that was his name. Built probably around 1872 to 1874.
And what was it?
It was a store.
Oh, it was a store, okay.
With the house above, I bet.
Probably. Louis Sotersky had that at one time. There used to be the post office, dry goods, hardware, the first meat market, and of course a pub.
Of course.
And what about this house
Now this
back
here
here?
weedy lawn belonged to Chris Tullius, and they used to have Dodge picnics and stuff would be here because Chris owned kind of like this end of town, you know. And now I says he also I think had something to do here a little bit with the blacksmith stuff. This White House here, we put the binders on a minute. Pat Garangeloski, the police officer that's retired from Arcadia, this was his home.
Okay.
When Pat was younger.
It's a big house too.
Yeah, it is.
This house here now
Board side. Yeah.
was the old Dodge schoolhouse.
This was? Really?
And it got moved over here by horses in 1930 by Chris Tullius, and they called it the Dewdrop Inn. And then the little house who ran it last built a new house at the foot of the hill as we're coming in.
Okay.
Okay. This is Joe Tullius' home over here. And then now we're right back here to Harry Harris' garage.
Okay. When I was in high school, is people came down to Dodge, to the bars here, because they stayed open until everybody left. You know, there wasn't any, like, set closing time, so.
The law didn't come in and
I guess
shut them
not.
down at 2 o'clock?
Now here used to be Frank Tushner's meat market, stood where this little house is here now.
Oh,
And
the trailer?
also, Carl Wagner had his harness shop,
Where this trailer is.
where this trailer is standing
Okay.
here. And now Marcy Fromm owns this. Next to this one, this here trailer house, this was the site of Tandusky's blacksmith shop. He was the first blacksmith here in Dodge.
There was a lot of farmers in the neighborhood. That's why you needed so many blacksmiths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this one was Charles Kastmer's house. He was next to the blacksmith shop over here. I'm not sure what he did for a living. Behind them, there was a little bitty shack. Thomas I think it's Kruzak, lived back there. He was kind of a stump grubber and handyman for around town. And now these buildings here have all been bought out. They all belong to Sonny Peeler and Brian as part of Dodge Fuel. They own these
okay.
here buildings.
Well, we've been.
What an
This-
interesting history.
This building here and these little red ones here, this
Yeah.
all belonged to Frank Hesley at one time. On the other side of the road where the storage sheds are, that was his garden over there. This over Ralph Mulga used to keep his horses in here when he did the mail route.
I was going to say, that definitely has a flavor of barn.
You betcha. So I said, and Ralph lived over here on the Windmiller's farm back when his day. Ralph was World War I veteran.
You want me to go up here and turn around? Or?
Well, we'll be able to go home now.
Well, we'll head out
Oh,
over-
we'll go over Keldunski's
go over-
Hill?
Rubber Hill, yeah.
Rubber Hill. I don't even want to ask about that.
Oh, that's because of all the spinning tires up and down
okay.
the thing. Yes. Vic Tushner owns this. Vic is one of the kind of a trapper trader minion from Dodge, yeah. Pulaski Farm. These are all newer homes in this end of town. I said, Dodge slowly expanding. It ain't wild like other towns, but it's expanding. New people moving in.
And we were down here, I was down here with Jim back in spring, and we went out to the Dodge Public Cemetery, which would be kind of over this hill here to my left.
Well, our tour of Dodge is just about complete. I said, I'm sure we missed more than some people. We probably got 75% wrong, but anybody wants to correct it, you can step right in here and
You can call Jim.
Yeah,
sit
take a
right
fight.
next to us here and tell us how much we had wrong. We're not totally afraid to be said that we may have misstated, but we told you, don't bet the pharma.
Now we're gonna go up,
What we call Rubber Hill here, yeah.
well right now it says Leo Coolis Road.
That's Leo Coolis Road, yes.
But I've heard people call it Keldunski Hill too.
Okay, I'm not gonna say no.
Well, great. We're going to wrap this show up in the middle of an argument.
No,
Oh my goodness.
it's not an argument, it's just differing information, that's all. I'm just saying that's what I've heard. That this
That's why it's been changing over the years. If we don't document a few things around here while we still remember, nobody will. And then they'll be arguing behind us. Now we'll leave this documentary for someone else to say this is right or this is wrong.
And you have got a tremendous history of the area. How did you get interested in the history of Pine Creek and Dodge?
I'm not. I just happen to
You're just
know
the
stuff.
town. You're just the Twin
Just-
Cities historian.
No, I'm not. Roger Bamnick was the historian and Dave Hesley, and both of those poor gentlemen passed on. But I said, all the information is there if people just look. I said, you can find it up. You go to the county records in Whitehall, you'll be able to document who was the first farmer on each farm. Not just like we speculate this guy was here in the 30s or this guy was here in the teens.
Yeah.
Who was here in the 1860s?
Wow, that's
And
incredible history, though,
And
Jim.
we've
And
got-
many
yeah,
people came here
valuable.
as land speculators. They bought it for $1.25. Land was going up to $20. They were buying it and selling it just as quick as they could. So the first owner is not necessarily the guy that ever was on it. But is that recorded in Whitehall? I don't know.
Well,
It's
something I gotta say right now, because
We're
there's
running out of battery.
the porcupine in the room here we have to address
Uh-oh.
is the story of making what do you want to call it?
Moonshine?
Moonshine back during Prohibition. And that apparently was something that Dodge and Pine Creek was noted for.
Do you know anything about that, Jim?
I plead the fifth on this.
Okay. The truth comes out right here.
That's a different story. We'll have to take the fifth on that.
Okay.
Yeah, there were rumors that there could have been alcoholic refreshments made back here in the day, but you know what? That's rumors.
Yeah.
You can't believe everything you read in the paper.
Okay, well,
We are down to 1%
Yep.
on one of our cameras.
which means that we've kind of got to wrap up this magical mystery tour of the Twin Cities here.
Thank you so much for joining us. Jim, thank you so much
Yeah.
for the incredible wealth of knowledge that you have about Pine Creek and Dodge.
And he really shoveled a lot of it. Didn't he?
Absolutely.
So, which one just went down?
This
The
one.
GoPro? Okay. Well, yours is still going.
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, this has been a really wonderful tour. And people that have been afraid to go to Dodge or Pine Creek, it's probably okay, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I said that the people have always been friendly there. I said that you only get thrown out once or twice. You get used to that. I mean, people can take it.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I said that there's no reason people can't just take a Sunday afternoon and go for a little tour and visit some of these little small communities
Yeah.
in Trempealeau County.
And stop in and have a burger.
Sure, stop and have a little lunch, I said, or have yourself a soda or whatever the case may be. But I said, drive safely and enjoy the scenery because I said,
Yeah.
pretty soon fall colors will come. And I said, tractor and the equipment will be using a lot of roads, so drive safe and have a good time till next time.
Okay.
Thank you so much.